Hello friends, today we are going to see how to work with cloud build. It is fun, it is exciting, there is a lot, it is one of the most interesting topics. Definitely there is a lot to see here. So what we will do is we will try to make it easy and we will go through step by step. So we will take baby steps and we will go through everything and we will go small and then we will build up everything, and at the end of the day we will deploy the whole thing to cloud run. So what we will do in a nutshell, I will say we will create the project, we will push the code to the source repo, we will build the container images, we will push them to the container registry, we will do a couple of more things just to explore some of the features, and then at the end we will deploy it to the cloud run and we will see how it all works, and it is really awesome. So just hang in there and let's get started. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push the code that I'm gonna use in the project to GitLab, and I'm gonna share the URL in the description so you can go through the whole thing, you can have the whole project, you can have all the files necessary, and you can run it on your own. So let's look at the project. What do we have here? This is pretty simple. We have this is a Python Flask application. This is my main route, which only returns message called hello world, nothing more than that. This is pretty simple. You can have it as much complicated as you want, but that's not what we are doing here. Other thing we have is the Docker file. This Docker file, it just says, get the base image from the Python, copy the code in the container, run the requirements file, install all the dependencies, and at the end just just host my application. And this is my requirements file, and if you look at the cloud build.yaml, it is empty. This is what we will start working on once we go through each and every step. So the first thing we want to do is build our project using Docker file on cloud run, sorry, on cloud build, because when you go and try to build the project on the cloud build, it gives you two options. You can either use Docker file or you can use cloud build.yaml file. With Docker file you don't get much options. All it does is it builds your container and pushes it to the container registry, and that is all about it. There is you can't do anything more than that, because you are not able to specify all the tasks, all the options that you may want to. But let's do that, because there is one of the options. Let's go ahead and do that. So I already have my code pushed to the source repositories here. So this is my simple source app. It's the same thing that I just showed. Look at the Docker file. This is the Docker file. Cloud build.yaml is empty, and inside the app you have app.py and it's doing nothing, right? So let's see what happens here. So we come to the first thing we want to do is we want to come from in the console, and we want to go to cloud build. It's right here. So we go here, and so ignore all the previous builds that you see. I was working on it, so I had to prepare it. So many errors, and I was trying to do many other things, but that's fine. I have deleted all the triggers. This trigger is there, but it's inactive. So let's see what we are gonna do here. So there is a settings here. We don't want to touch it right now. There is a time, there will be a time when we will come here and mess this thing. So let's not do it right now. So let's go ahead and create the trigger. You can also connect this cloud build to different repo. So if you have a GitHub repo, you can do that. If you have a Bitbucket, you can do that. You can do GitLab and all that kind of stuff. We will probably see how that works, but not right now. like right now we just want to do plain and simple, right? So let's come here and we say create trigger, and I'm gonna name this trigger as my app minus docker from docker file and build from docker file. Remember, we are only gonna build right now from the docker file. Event, every time when I push to the branch, it should start the build. Repository, I will select the sample app repo one that I just showed. We do not want to do new repository. Branch, take it to master. We don't want to explore anything else. This is where you get multiple options. It asks you where is your build configuration. Is it part of your build config file or is it part of your docker file? So docker file is the most simple one, so let's do docker file first. Here you can specify where your docker file is. So if your docker file is anywhere other than root, our docker file is on root. But if you have a separate directory, if that is where your docker file is, you just specify my docker file directory, and system will go and find the docker file there. Since we do not have it anywhere, we have it on root, that's where by default it is gonna look for, so we will just leave it empty. Next thing it asks us is what is your docker file name. Like you already know, you can name your docker file anything. Since we have it in our default docker file, you will just name it docker file. Then it asks what do you want your image name to be. So there are some variables that it will substitute, not a lot more choices there, but you can substitute your project ID, you can substitute with repo name, branch name, tag name, commit sha, and your short sha or short sha. So we will just leave it default as is. So this is how our image name is gonna look like: sample app repo1 and commit sha. And we will say timeout, we will just say 120 seconds. So if something goes wrong, we do not want this build to just keep going forever. We at some point of time we want to say, hey, you are running for a long time, timeout, there is something going on there. You can also go and stop it manually if you need to, but that's fine. So let's go ahead and click on create. Now when you click on create, it doesn't really do anything, it just creates the trigger. You can see the status here, enabled or disabled. We will have it enabled. You can manually run the trigger from here, or you can push it to your source repo. You can push your code to the source repo and it will start the build. So let's do that. Let's just say git push. Everything is up to date. Well, I haven't really made any change, so what I will do is I will just make one change. Right? Didn't really do anything, and I'll say git add, get a docker file, git commit -m, docker change, and I'll say git push. Now I just pushed it and didn't do anything, so let's come back here and go to build history, and you can see the build already started. This is the trigger name, my app from docker file, and let's click on it. Now this is what happens. So there is only one step. We haven't said anything. It just knows one thing to do, is to do the build from the docker file, and that's what it is doing. It is reading our docker file, doing what it needs to do. Once it is done building the image, it is gonna push it to docker registry, and you can see it is done. So let's go to docker registry and see how the image looks like. So if you scroll down, here is a docker registry, open a new tab, and this is my image, sample app repo1, right? And you can see this is my container image with the tag of of the commit sha, and you can add more tags, edit more tags manually if you need to, but this is the most basic and simple way of doing it. You just create the trigger and you specify where my trigger where my Docker file is, where my and it will build. So that is option one. Now let's go and see, you know, a little more complicated option saying how do you build it with Docker build.yaml file, cloud build.yaml file. So let's see what we want to do here. So let's take baby steps. Let's do one thing at a time, right? Let's not do a lot of things in one shot. Okay, so this is the whole Docker cloud build.yaml file. We don't want to do everything right now, so let's take the whole thing and then we will fix it one by one. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we just want to see how do you do the build, right? Okay, so this is my simple Docker, this is my simple cloud build.yaml file. It says there is only one step. This is the name of that step, which says gcr.io. This is where it's gonna take the image from, and it's gonna pass all these things as the argument. So it's gonna say build the image, tag it with latest, also tag it with my commit sha, and also tag it with my build id. Now why are we tagging the image 3 times? I will get to that in just a minute, so just bear with me. And this is the id. So this is like the id of the step. What is the id of this step? This is the id of the identifier of the step. And wait for, so why do we have it here? We will see it in few steps. Why do we have it here? So here we are gonna say don't wait for anything. In order to indicate for this build step to start running immediately, you just say wait for nothing, you know, just start working on it, right? And logging, let's not do that right now. So now what we are saying is build the image and push the image with these 3 things. So this is where you say that, you know, the image, whatever image that you built here, when you want to push it to the container registry, these are the 3 different tags you want to apply to them, apply to that image, and you want to push it to the container registry. Now let's, before we do the check-in and everything, let's come back here and let's get rid of this trigger first, because we don't want to build it twice, right? I'm going to disable this trigger, or maybe I'll just delete the trigger. We don't need this trigger anymore. It's just going to show up otherwise. Perfect. So I'm just going to say create trigger. This is the new trigger we are creating. So now we are going to say build from cloud build YAML. Build from cloud build YAML file. Same thing, push to branch. Every time I push, I want it to start the build. We're going to select the same repo. We're going to select the master branch. Now here is the fun, right? You don't have to specify anything other than where your cloud build.yaml file is. You can keep it anywhere. If you have it inside a directory, you just say slash, from your root you just say my directory slash, you know, my cloud build.yaml file. Our cloud build.yaml file is on the root, so we will just leave it there. Substitution variables, let's not worry about that right now, and let's just go ahead and say create. So now we have a trigger and we haven't checked any file yet, so let's do that. Git status, git add cloud build.yaml, git commit -n, Okay, so now I pushed it, and if I come to history, this is my trigger. It has already started the build. So let's see what is happening here. It's building. You can see the name of my step, build image my app, and it is building my image, right? It's done building the image. Now it is pushing the image, so you can look at the log and it says successfully tagged image 3 times. So 3 tags: latest tag, my build commit sha, and my build id. So, and it pushed it, all those images are pushed. So now if we come here and we say refresh, this is my app, and we say look at this, it has all the 3 tags, and this is my image, right? Now we just have the image built, it's sitting in our container registry. What do we do with this? So we want to run it on Cloud Run. So how do we do that? So let's add those steps. Now the next step is we have to push it. Before we can run it on the Cloud Run, we have to push it to the cloud registry. So it's doing the same thing. It's saying docker push. I'm substituting my image name or the path with the project ID / my app $commit SHA. So these are the variables that it will replace when the build runs. And I'm saying this is the ID of my step, and I'm saying wait for build image my app, wait for this step 1 to finish before you start the step 2. Now this will push it, but that is it, it's not gonna do more than that. Now this is the third step. This is where we are gonna say deploy it to the Cloud Run. So what we are saying is, so deploying to the Cloud Run is done using gcloud command. So we are saying gcr.io cloud builders gcloud arguments run. So think about it as gcloud run deploy. This is my service name, this is the image that I just pushed in step 2, this is the region I want to run my service on, and my platform is managed, and allow anybody to just go and hit the URL. I don't really care, right? And we are saying wait before you run this step, wait for the image to get pushed to my container registry, which is this step here, and the ID of this step, which is gonna be deploying to Cloud Run, is deploy to Cloud Run. Okay, so this is pretty simple. Step 1, we build the image. Step 2, we push the image to the container registry, and step 3, we are going to deploy it to the Cloud Run. Hopefully the whole thing will work. Okay, so if everything goes fine, it will actually deploy the service to Cloud Run. So let's open the Cloud Run up and make sure there is nothing here. Okay, there are no services or anything, so my build is happening. I go here and I click on it. Let's see what is happening. Okay, so it's now you can see that it has 3 steps. Step 1 is build, step 2 is push, step 3 is deploy. Now it gave me an error. Why is it giving me an error? This is intentional. This is for me to show you what is happening here. Now while we were doing the build and pushing it to the container registry, it was fine. It said I have every right that I need to do those 2 things. But when it comes to the deployment, I do not have rights to do that. So it says my cloud run deploy, it does not have permissions to deploy this container to cloud run. So let's go ahead and fix that. So what we do is we come to identity and access management. We just open it. And this is the service account. So this service account runs with your project ID at cloudbuild.gs service gserviceaccount.com. Yeah, it's good. It's good, right? So let's see what permissions do we need. We need two permissions. The first permission we need is we come here. So we select this account, right? We select this account and we click on the pencil icon here and we say edit and we say add another role, and the role we want to add is cloud run admin. Okay, and we want to add one more role. So these two roles are prerequisites. If you do not add these two roles to the service account for your cloud build, your cloud build will not be able to deploy the container to your cloud run. This is the second role called service account user. So we added cloud run admin and service account user and we click on save. Now that we clicked on save, we come here and we look at the settings. So now if you look at the settings, you see in the beginning we had everything disabled and now we have two of them enabled. So this service account user is enabled and cloud run is enabled. If you don't want to go through the whole IAM thing, you can just click here and say enable, but that would not have shown it, that would not have allowed me to show you how it is actually done, in the IAM, right? So instead of abstracting that information, you saw how to do it the hard way. If you want to do it the easy way, you just come here and you say enable and you're all good, right? So now there are two ways we can do this. Either we can run the trigger again by clicking here. So what if you click here, it will start a brand new build, right? Or we go back to the history and we take our failed build and we say retry. So if we do retry, it will use the same source code that it was failed with. It is not going to take the new code. Now since we have not made any change to the source code, it is fine. But if you have made changes to the source code, you want to start a new trigger. You don't want to do retry, because retry will not fetch new code. It will fetch the code that it failed with. It will work with the same code that it failed with. That's technically my assumption, but that's how probably it works. So, and if you need to cancel the build while it is going on, you can click on here and it will cancel the build. But hopefully we don't need to do that, and this time it is going to go through the whole thing and it is going to deploy my service. Just so we know, there is nothing here, everything is empty, and it actually deployed my service. So you can see all my steps are done here. My service is deployed. I click on the service and this is the URL of my service. Even though it says uk.a and everything, it is not deployed in UK region, it is deployed in US East 4. It kind of threw me off as well, but you can see that my app is deployed and it is running on my cloud service, my cloud run. So this is one of those things where you can do a lot of things here, right? So now let's do what else. Now let's see what else we can do here. So what we want to do now is we want to say, hey, everything is good, right? I want you to take the logs for this cloud build and push it to one of the cloud buckets that I'm going to show you right now. So we come here and we say, once you're done with everything, I want you to prepare, I want you to grab the logs of this entire build and output that to my build log.log file. So what we are doing here, so we are saying run the cloud SDK slim, right, and create a volume. Now why are we creating a volume here? Because in this step we are creating the log file. In the next step we are going to upload that log file to the cloud bucket. In order for us to be able to access that file in both the steps, we have to use volume. If you do not use volume in two steps, then that volume will get discarded. Now I could have created this file on the root of my workspace, but I wanted to show you that if you want to create a volume, a separate space for your temporary files, you can do it this way. So you just specify volumes and you say name volume1 and path. This is what the directory will look like. And then you say my entry point is bash because we want to run bash command, and these are my arguments. So I'm just saying gcloud builds log, grab the build id from the substitution and output the whatever is there to my build logs.log file. And I'm gonna name this step as deploy. I'm gonna wait for the deployment to happen. So that is my step 3. I'm gonna wait for step 3 to finish, and then I'm gonna fetch the logs. So now that we fetch the logs and our logs are in the build log.log, what else do we want to do after this? So let's push it. Let's push this log file to a bucket, right? We want to push the log files to the bucket, and that's what this command says it does. So it says the name is bash, so we literally want to run bash, script here or the command here, and we are saying grab it. It's supposed to use this volume. It should be the same volume that we used in the previous step, and then we are saying just tar this file, tar my application code, because it's inside the app directory, as you can see here. Get my requirements.txt file and grab my build log and zip everything or tar everything and 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 push it to the 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 GCS bucket, right? And this is the ID. Now you can see here we are not actually asking it to push. We are not saying gcloud or gsutil cp or anything. So how does it know what to push, right? That's where this thing comes into picture. Artifacts. So now we are gonna say next, after images, we are gonna say we had images, but we also have artifacts, and the objects, the location of the artifact is, I have a bucket on Google Cloud. I'll show you, which has the name as DevOps minus my project ID, and inside that I want to create this build ID, a directory with build ID, and I want to push this tar file. This tar file contains my source code, my requirements file, and my build log file. This is for me to know that in case if something goes wrong, if I need to figure out, hey, what was the source code, what was the build log, and I need to recreate the environment, I should be able to do it by just grabbing this tar file from my GS bucket, Google Cloud bucket, and I should have everything I need. So let's go and look at the bucket here. So I come to storage, and this is the bucket that it creates by default. We don't need to touch that. This is the DevOps bucket that we have, and I already did this, so I'm gonna delete this. So I haven't deleted the bucket. I just deleted all the files and folders and everything from that bucket. So they should be gone in about a couple of seconds. Fine. So while this is happening, it will do that. Now let's see. So we have defined everything. Okay. So let's go ahead and push. So we pushed it. Let's go and see what is happening in my build. My build is waiting. Oh, it started. It was in the queue for a while. So you can see we added 2 more steps. So now we have 5 steps, and everything is gonna run sequentially because we need to let the whole build process finish so we can grab the logs and then we push the logs to the cloud, to the bucket. And you can see I deleted everything from here, and it is doing the build. Let's wait for it to finish building it. So it's deploying my to my service. It finished deploying it. This is also part of the CI/CD, you know. And now it is pulling this cloud SDK image, and once it is done pulling the cloud SDK image, it is going to run this gcloud command. And you can see here the artifacts will be uploaded to, it substituted $project ID with load balancing one. It's my project ID here, and you can see it's all done. There is no error. Now if we come to the bucket here, we can see if we can, let's see if we can refresh this. And of course we have the bucket with the build ID. So if you click on it, you can see that it has this artifacts minus JSON. This JSON file is just a manifest file, but this is the tar file that we just pushed. So if you click on it, you can download it. So let's download it and let's go and look at the content. What does it have? You can see here it has requirements.txt file, it has my app here, and my awesome volume which has build.log.log, and if I click on it, I can see the whole build. So if my developer or my architect needs it, I can just give them the whole thing and they can figure out, you know, if something went wrong or what code was pushed, when was it pushed, what was the log, the whole thing is right there. Now this is everything that we did here. Now there are a few more options here, right? So this option here called logs bucket and options logging GCS only. Now why do we need that? So right now when we are doing our builds, where is our this build log? Where is this build log going? So this build log is actually going to cloud logging. So if you scroll down here and if you do here, come here and you say open this, and if you say log viewer, log file explored, and you can see my cloud build here. So I select this. So this is where all my logs are happening. So you can see 121. I just built it like a couple of minutes back. It's about 1 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, right? So you can see here. Now when you push your logs here, you don't really have any option to to send it to anybody or anything like that. Yes, you can definitely use some kind of log aggregator and then run some analytics on it, but still at the end of the day, if you want to persist this somewhere, right, you want to make sure that you have these logs for a long time, for analytic purpose, then what you can do is you can specify this option here. And what does this option look like? Let's see. So what we are saying is, hey, we want to send the logs to the bucket, to the GS bucket, and this is the bucket name. So the bucket name is logs minus code build minus project ID, which will be substituted when the system runs the build. And I want to create another subfolder with the build ID, so I can correlate the logs with my builds. And the options I'm saying is logging to GCS only, means I'm saying that do not push the logs to the logger, cloud logger, only push it to this bucket. So let's do that. Before we do that, let's come here and let's go out of this, and this is my logs folder. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna just delete everything from here. And while it is deleting everything, I'm just gonna push the code. Now remember, in the cloud logs, our last log was at like 121.09. I can refresh it again, and you can see it was 121.09, and that's where it is. But since we have a new build happening here, and remember this build log output, I do not want to push the output to my log viewer. I want to by default I want this cloud build to push the output to my specialized S3 bucket, which is here, and it probably created that one already. So you can see this 8E58, and that's what this folder looks like, 8E58. And you can see it has already started to push the logs here as it is going through. So it is streaming the logs and it is pushing these logs to that bucket there. And if we come to our log viewer, you should see there is no new logs entry happening here, other than just saying that cloud build is happening. My build logs are not coming here. It's just all the actions that the cloud build is taking. Only those logs are coming here, not more than that. These are my old logs, 120. Right now it is 127. So my build is done, and if I come here, and if I look at this log file and I sit down, and it just said 127, it is 127. I can download this file and I can read the file, and I can point my whatever software that I'm using to bring the analytics out of it. I can point it to this particular bucket. It can read all my log files and tell me when something goes wrong, something is broken or anything. So that is about it. This is very fun, very exciting. There are so many other things you can do here. One of the things you can do is you can actually run the cloud build on your own workers, right now we are using Google shared workers, which is just fine. But if you have mandate from your enterprise that we want to run it with on the in on the virtual machines that we have that we can create in our project, that feature is there, but it's not public, it's still in alpha, or it's only invite only. So I'm not able to do that, because when I run this command, which is to create these workers, i I get this error which says, this feature is for invitation only, and you can't really do anything there. So if I say, gcloud alpha builds worker pools, create a test worker pool one, with all these things, it says I do not have permission to do that, because this feature is not listed for me, and I should contact, Google support. I don't want to do that. So we are gonna wait for them to release that feature. It's again very powerful, and I have big expectations from that. So let's see how the whole thing works. This is about it. I know this was long, and you probably fall asleep. Hopefully not. If you did not, then happy Google Cloud journey. And if you fall asleep, time for you to wake up. It's all done, and still happy Google Cloud journey. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.